Hello, everybody. And I know Mimi's already here because I already have a note from her. And we'll give you a few minutes for stuff to come in. Jill and I were just discussing now's the time when a lot of seasonal fruit shows up in Texas. And this is peach time. It's just at the beginning of the peach season. And I got a big flat of them and I was trying to find. I grill peaches. Have you ever grilled a peach?
I've never heard of such a thing.
You do. You just put them on the grill and they are wonderful. So my daughter and I will eat. We've had about half the box grilled, and so I want to find something else to do with it. So I'm making. When we finish with this, I'm going to go make some peach sorbet for my Ninja Creamy. Got to make it today and whiz it up tomorrow.
I love how instead of talking about stupid world events, we were talking about something really important like peaches, which I think is just in the green room. That's what we were talking about, which is what people actually really care about,
right,
on a soul level.
What's going to make you have some joy and some happiness? Right. Hi, Indigo Child. Hi, Mimi. Anyway, yes, and because one of the things I'm toying with doing, and I'll run this off you, Jill, since you're the therapist. Am I crazy to do this? I have found 2 sets of books. One by a woman from New Zealand, and it's a whole set of books about a period of time when crones, when the real witches gained their power back, the 4 earth, air, fire, and
water.
Yeah. Anyway, and that's one of the most interesting novels when she goes, and they each have to go find their dragon, but they're all in this tiny little.
I'm going to read this book. What's the
you'll never forget the author's name. Her name is Iris Oglethorpe.
No, I would not forget that. I love that.
And she's got 2 sets. She's got one about when a woman comes back to claim the mantle of being a superior witch wizard in this world from this little town. It's called Myrtlewood, spelled like the myrtle tree, Myrtle. Anyway, there's 2 sets of novels. One is the people coming back and claiming very essential powers. Hi, new member, Terry. And there's also a set of books on and it's really diverse women who ended up wanted to run the pub for years and finds out she's a wizard. One's a woman who's a wild woman who lives out in a cottage and a hut in the woods. And she finds, anyway, these 4 women are drawn together. And what's really cool is they're older. They're all over, some are well over the age of 50, but one's in the 50 years age. And her marriage has fallen apart. Her career in London's fallen apart. She comes to this town just intending to visit where she used to visit her granny and gets involved in this. And they're well written, but what's better than they're well written, I mean, they're not Charles Dickens, but they follow, I've been involved with the elementals for a long time, and they follow the findings and the way the elementals claim that we humans awaken to what we do. And I think it's so interesting because you see these women walking into their power going just like we are, like, how the hell did I get here? Wait a minute, I didn't mean to do this. This isn't what I wanted to do. And then the second set of books is called Accidental Medium, and it's written by a woman, and I'm sure it's somewhat of a life story. She loses her acting career, sort of starts to fall apart, so she goes to work in a woo-woo shop in England. And out of that, she finds out she's really a medium, starts with tarot cards. By the 5th book, she's actually doing what they claim we can do in quantum physics. She goes from time zone to time zone, and she starts putting the whole family trauma imagery together and taking Irish families from the trauma of going to London and healing them from the time they were in the Industrial Revolution till a widow after World War II. Fascinating stuff.
Well, welcome to Book Talk. Hey, everyone.
We're trying it out. So if y'all think that's a good idea for me to start a book club, put a yes, because you can get them all on Audible, or Audible, you can get all the Myrtlewoods for free. If you do that, you can also get them through Kindle and all those other places. I mean, but they're really, really. I want to get a hold of Iris Oglethorpe and find out, because that woman obviously knows what she's talking about, and she says she's from Generational Witches. So
I love it. Sounds like she would make an amazing guest. See if you can hook her up. If you get her and she's good, let me know. I'll have her on my show.
I'll let you know. I'll let you want to come. You know, when you figure things out with people in books club, sounds great. Thank you, Marlene. I just did a show with someone who is in far Western Australia in Perth, and it's 13 hours in a day. So it was 8 o'clock in the evening here on Tuesday, and it was Wednesday morning where he was.
Who was it? Anybody I know?
Oh, Hayden Crawford. Do you know him? He kind of fell into it through the normal things, Reiki, Healing, energy work and stuff. He does a whole lot of work with color and color therapy, and he also works with extraterrestrials. And I found him.
Oh, you can definitely talk to him about getting on my show.
Yeah, I'll send you Hayden's information.
Love that. Love that. I love that. I love that kind of stuff. I mean, like you and I are both the same in that we do this intuitive work ourselves, but we also enjoy it, watching other people with their craft.
What's fun for me is I read so many people who said, I don't know how I got here. What's going on? I mean, totally. It's the same confusion, especially that's in these books, as these women realize finally about you're through the third book in the Myrtlewood series, and women's goes, I never had this much fun when I was young. I never knew who I was when I was young to be there. And then they talk about how they needed to go through what they did when they were young to get to where they are. You're a therapist, you know all that stuff.
I'm a hypnotherapist. There's a legal distinction.
Not in Texas. In Texas, you can say you're a therapist, just hang up a shingle.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, there's definitely things that are different in Texas.
Yeah, but you deal with that kind of intimacy in people's lives.
I do. I do get... one of the things I've always enjoyed about what I do, and I'm sure you have had the same experience, is that, as a hypnotherapist, I get to talk to people from very different backgrounds about very different kinds of issues. And I'm fortunate to get to see two sides of the same issue sometimes, and particularly when it comes to politics and things. And I get like, why do you feel this way? And why do you feel this way? And like, I get the whole story. And that's one of the things I think is a real benefit if you do, that kind of healing work, is you get to really talk to people. And if you're someone like me who just genuinely likes talking to people and hearing their stories, there's a beauty in that I think that most people don't get to see.
Well, I would love to use the polite word and the very English word. Well, I'm just curious about things. Actually, I'm very nosy.
Me too. I'm the same way. I'm like, tell me more about that.
I want to know.
And she did what? He said what?
Yeah. And we're about to find all that out about Jill, because we're going to do our 20 questions. We've got enough people in, and we'll cover the 20 questions, and then you and I can just discuss afterwards. And any of the things the questions trigger off in you that you want to speak about more freely, do it. This will be a very short interview if you say yes and no to every question. Okay?
All right. I get that. I hear the rules now.
Dun, 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 dun. Openings and origins. This is your beginning. When did you first realize you might have psychic abilities?
It's interestingly enough, I didn't realize it until I was probably 7 or 8, that the things that I was seeing and hearing were things that other kids were not seeing and hearing. So I had I did not have an NDE. A lot of people have had near-death experience. I didn't have that. I had an out-of-body experience in which there was some trauma going on in a traumatic incident. I basically jumped out of my body, and I went up to the nearest spirit guide, and I said, essentially in little kids' terms, here's the keys, changed my mind, don't want it. These people are crazy. I don't want it. I don't want to play. And he said, if you leave now, your mom's going to be devastated. She won't be able to handle it. Your brother's not going to be able to handle it. He can't be by himself. If you go back, I'll make you a deal. If you go back, you'll be able to see your guides, you'll be able to hear your guides, and you'll know that you're never alone. And I took the deal and went back, and I went, oh my God, what did I sign up for? But it wasn't until later, like I said, 7 or 8, when I realized that other people were just not seeing the 4 beings behind each person that I was hearing, and they weren't hearing from the person's, dead granny. When, like, I'll give an example. So my grandfather would lie all the time, lie about family origin stories. And I would hear his mom behind him going, no, that's not what happened. That's not what happened. I realized very early on, though, that saying something was not a good idea. So I just kept it to myself. But yeah, that's probably about 7 or 8.
Okay, very good. And was there a single aha moment that chose you to kind of go in this career direction? Because we can know we can do what we do, doesn't mean we want to do it publicly.
That's a very good question, because I had a very normal career. I've been in sales for a million years. I sold software. I've sold insurance. I've been, I've done marketing. I had a friend who was booking talent for a Wounded Warrior Foundation event, and her psychic, they had a psychic who was going to do entertainment for them, but backed out at the last second. She said, "Hey, can you put on a witch's costume, grab a tarot card deck, and just do tarot card readings for 4 or 5 hours?" And I'm like, sure, why not? I did it, and it was so much fun. And I'm like, you know what? People will pay me for this. Like, maybe I should just start taking money for it. And that's really when I got some additional training so that I would be better at going from the random bits of information I was getting to answering the question the client had in front of me. Because as you know, you get a lot of random stuff, but the client wants to know, should they be dating Bob or Bill? And like that took practice to be able to tune into what exactly they wanted to know. Because the guides wanted to talk about other stuff. They want to talk about life purpose. They want to talk about career. And we get some of that in anyway, no matter what. That's just part of the deal. But they really want to know something specific. You got to tune in for that. So,
that's right. When I used to volunteer at my children's Halloween festival. And they were living with their father in the suburbs at the time, and I was living in the city. And I came out and met the principal, and so she could see that I wasn't a crazy lady with a black hat.
Right.
And in the years after my kids left that school, they said, "Could you please come back, because you make all the money we make at the festival." So I'd go back there for them. I mean, they were lovely people.
It's fun. Come on, it's fun.
They were really good to my kids for the period of time they had to live with their dad when they didn't want to be there. Anyway, it was so funny because in the time when I started, it used to be always the little girls were like, "Ooh, is little Tommy going to love me?" and blah, blah, blah. By the time I left, and I only did it for 6 years, and my son that was in grade school at the time, he's in his 50s now. In that 6-year cycle, it went from the girls asking those questions to the girls saying, "What's my career going to be? Do I have a chance at this?" But what was interesting was the boys started saying, "Will a girl ever love me?" I watched that happen. I watched that consciousness change in children
in real time. Interesting. Yeah, that's very fascinating.
Okay. Did you said you used to hear Granny talking behind Grandpa?
Oh yeah.
As a child. So, looking back on those periods of time in your life, do you see them differently now? Or I know sometimes people, they knew what was going on, but they weren't, until they started doing shadow work, they couldn't realize they were consciously dealing with that.
I think I appreciate that question. I think for me, I did kind of get a sense that my family was a little nutty pretty early on, which was very helpful. I think if I hadn't been really clear that some of the people running the factory were not, all together, didn't have all their marbles together, I think it would have been even worse. But looking back, I would say it is helpful to see that the oppression that was happening intentionally, because my family did know I was pretty psychic. You're making this up. You're not saying, who are you to answer that? And I'm like, yes. Most of the time they would say that because I would out them. I would say, oh, you guys are doing this thing. You said you're doing this other thing. They didn't like that. So they tried to control me. And I would say if I knew back then what they were up to, I wouldn't have questioned as much. Am I right? Am I making this up? Am I, I did know I did have a strong sense that they were, out to lunch on some things, but not as much as I realized. If that makes sense.
Okay. And so now we're going on to, how do people react when you kind of came out about your experiences, or you decided to do what you do?
Some family was like, where's the Bible? Where's the Bible? Other families just generally not supportive. They think it's weird. I had somebody say that they thought I was more intelligent than that. But generally speaking, I think my friends all knew, because I was always spooking them, and my clients knew because I would not intentionally, but I would just know things that they didn't tell me, and so they suspected. But for the most part, I would say it's pretty positive. The people in my life that are not positive, that are not supportive, I really just generally spend less time with them. And I think I would encourage everyone listening to do the same, because you just don't need that.
You
You
don't
need to
need
be
that.
free to be yourself, you know?
Well, when I went to my 50th high school reunion, I I had just started really reading publicly a lot. It was on my Facebook page that I was reading in this wine cellar. And so we went around the room on the Friday night before the big reunion. Um, we all went around the room and everybody sort of said where they were and what they were doing. Well, most of them were retired and, and had picked up and were doing something else. Anyway, two of us got applause when we stood up and talked about what we were doing. One was the guy who lived on the same piece of land his family had lived on when he went to high school with me. He continued to farm it. He had 9 children and something like 23 grandchildren. I mean, yeah, a lot of Catholic families in my neighborhood. And he had 23 grandchildren. He got applause. So when I thought, well, I guess we'll applaud it. 23 grandchildren. I know what he had to do.
That's a lot. Yeah.
I mean, except for being that point on the family chart, what did he do, right? Anyway, then I stood up and I said, I talked about I'd had various and sundry careers, but I said, and as you know, I've decided to do what I've always really loved doing and read tarot. And so I'm a tarot reader. I'm a psychic. They applauded. And I sat down with Anita Vanzara, who'd been one of my best friends in junior high, and I said, what's that about? And she said, oh, we're so glad you finally figured out who you were. She said, you were so much who you were. You'd just come up to us and you'd go, oh, you're going to do great on that test and da-da-da-da-da. And then I was talking to a couple of other people, and they said, don't you remember in high school how everyone fought to be in your study groups? And I said, no one remembers high school with that kind of popularity, right? Nobody. So I said, no, I don't remember that. And they go, we thought you had a test file somewhere, because I had 2 older siblings that we saved up the test, because they said you'd get 90% of the questions. You'd ask those and say, you need to know this. And they didn't. And they said, now it all makes sense. You just knew,
I love it. That's great.
Anyway, so I'm glad you chose to ignore your, and it's really true, folks who are out there getting flack from family members. It's not their life. And if they choose to not be with you, that's fine. But you don't have to choose to change to make them happy.
Well, a lot of it too is jealousy. I would say a lot of my family is a bit intuitive too, but maybe they didn't have it to the level, or they just weren't comfortable admitting it. I don't know. But people are very jealous. Yeah.
They're afraid of it. Some of those books I talked about that I want to talk about doing a book club with, there's a lot of discussion about when people find out who you are, how the fear and how it changes your dynamics. But anyway, journey of development. Did you seek training? You said you did.
After you
started playing. What all did you study?
Oh my God. I mean, I was always taking classes of some kind, because if it's like, if I saw a class and it was weird, I went, oh, I don't even know what this is. Perfect. I'm signing up for it. Quantum healing, something with balls. I don't care. It was weird. I loved it. I actually did go to an Awakening. There's a store called Awakenings Bookstore in Orange County in California. And Lori Camacho was my teacher there. And I took like a 3-year program to develop my intuitive gifts in terms of being able to read clients. Now her program was psychic readings, mediumship, and channeling. And I actually think that both the psychic readings and the channeling were hugely beneficial, because being able to channel a spiritual being is kind of, it's a different skill. Like they come down to our level, we go up to theirs, and you kind of meet in the middle and you're able to get information. But I saw that training. I also did take some training from James Van Praagh, Michael Mayo. Oh, cool. I did just like all kinds of, and then of course I learned hypnotherapy. I learned Michael Newton's between lives regression, past life regression training. I did. God, I didn't even tell you. Like I took classes for like 20 years because it was fun too. It wasn't just, well, I'm going to do this for a living and here's my tools. These were fun classes. It was like weird stuff, and it's fun to learn it. Yeah, all kinds of things.
Okay, and are there any specific tools that became part of your practice early?
Tarot cards. Yeah, tarot cards. It took a long. I mean, God, Michelle Mache. I took her tarot card class.
Mhm.
Oh my God, that took forever to learn, you guys. It takes, but I'm just saying, you guys, if you're interested in tarot cards, get started early because it does take, it took me probably 3 years to be able to do it to where if I pulled a card, I didn't have to look at what the,
Mhm.
what the meanings were, kind of refresh my memory. I can do it freehand now, but boy, that took a long time. But yeah, tarot cards for sure. I do connect with clients' spirit guides and, channeling. I channel messages, but I don't do that on camera because I'm a little self-conscious because it changes my voice a little bit. And I just
Mhm.
but I do channel messages and sometimes I'll give that information on my shows.
Yeah, I can get their names of their guides and stuff, and sometimes I'll tell them a hard truth, and they'll go, "My God can't think that of me," and I'm like, "Well, then don't ask."
Yeah,
Um,
right. I know. Great. Oh my God, you guys, don't ask a psychic if your husband is cheating on you unless you want to know. Because like we have to be careful how we word the answers. But if the answer to the question is yes, we have to be really careful. But also, is it really all that helpful? If you're feeling like they're cheating on you, if you're feeling like you're not satisfied,
Follow
you have to
your own
work
instincts.
on healing with yourself. Right. Listen to your own instincts. But you don't need us. If you think
That's what
that's
I'm.
happening, it's probably happening.
When people used to ask me
Sorry.
questions like that in the wine bar or in a psychic fair in an open space, I
Oh, in
used
an
to.
open space. Oh my God. Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
know. I mean, a lot of people standing around. I used to
Uh-uh.
always say, "That's really a question you have to settle in your own soul,"
Oh, I like that. I'm gonna have to borrow that answer. That's a good answer,
because
especially in public, because you can't answer that question in public. No way.
oh, you can, and you can watch
Uh,
them fall apart on your table.
it wouldn't be a good idea.
So you had a lot of mentors and teachers. What's the best
Oh,
piece of advice they gave you?
um, advice I got early on was to actually work at a metaphysical bookstore or kind of do what you did because it really is. You are really dropped into the deep end of the pool pretty quickly, and you have to learn very quickly how to get it tuned into somebody's energy for the 20 minutes or whatever they've booked, and then release their energy and clear it for a second. You get just a little time to clear your energy so you're not reading their guides anymore to get ready for the next one. So I would say that was the biggest help that I got. Somebody said, do it if you get a chance. And I'm like, no way, that sounds like hard. And it is, but you really do get pretty good at answering questions quickly, understanding the kinds of things that people ask a lot. I saw it's to me, it's like the catch and release. I can catch your guide and I can let
Mhm.
them go and thank them because they're usually really cool. And then move on to the next person's, oh my God, your guide is really cool too. Oh my God,
Mhm.
the next client's guide is really awesome too. Like it's fun and that does take practice.
And the thing is that when you're doing them shotgun, one right after
Mm-hmm.
the other, you have to learn how to tie into someone's energy and let it go and then get the next person's
Yep.
energy.
Yep.
And that's a lot of people.
Takes practice.
When I was first reading during COVID on YouTube, I would pair with readers, and they were the sort that would sit there and shuffle cards forever. And one of the things people said is, "You read so fast." How
Yeah,
could you read so fast? Because you learn how to read fast. I
you
mean,
do.
you learn. The universe and I made a deal a long time ago. I want 3 shuffles, and I want the answer. You can arrange the cards. You got 3 shuffles.
I love it. You see, and you guys watching may not realize you can negotiate. Like I've said to my
Mhm.
guides, look, you got something important to say to me. Unless the house involves the house being on fire, you cannot give me that message at 3 a.m. You're allowed
No.
to give it to me at 7 after I've had my coffee. But
Mhm.
like again, unless there's smoke or flames or somebody's their blood, don't bother me in the morning.
Yeah,
Bother me after coffee.
you don't have to say, "Oh, I'm always open to my guides."
Ah,
No,
no,
you're
no,
not.
no,
You
no, no.
deserve nap time too.
I have business hours even for the guides.
How do you tell the difference? And this, I got this question from some lady, from a woman, not some lady. She's a very good
Something.
friend
A
actually
woman.
now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I've read her for 10 years, and she's in a multi-million-dollar business thing that she's selling
Ooh,
right now.
good for
And
her.
I'm having a lot of conversation. I know more about the people in her company than the people in her company know about the people in her company. But she she called me. She texted me a message and she said, "How do you know what's your crazy mind and what's just the other crazy stuff from the outside?"
That's a very
So,
good question.
and that's the question you're about to get. How do you
Okay.
know the difference between psychic impressions or your imagination?
Okay, so there's two things in this that I want everyone to realize. You always bring yourself to a reading. So for example, I am a very logical person. I know a lot about some very logical things. I can't leave that at home. So when I know something about like how data is collected for, let's say, voting machines, I know quite a bit about that because of my occupation, my previous occupations. I can't set that aside. That's always going to be there. But when I'm getting confused about this or that or the other thing, I always say to myself, okay, how much of this is logic? My logical mind saying, hey, I know that that's not really how this works. And how much of it is psychic impressions? Because some of you guys have had this experience during COVID. Just before COVID, I'm sure Nancy is true. This is her experience too. We were getting information on stuff that made no freaking sense. Like no freaking sense. Like
you saw the world ending. I was like, how's the world going to end? And no, what I kept hearing was the way they do everything is going to stop. And how could it be across a range of folks at a dinner party at the country club to people that wandered into the vintage shop I worked in? Everybody was getting that message.
It was so weird. Like, why do I need toilet paper? Why are you telling me I need to have vodka in my closet? And why are you saying that we're not going to be able to get hand sanitizer? I'm like, what is that? You know, if you're getting a lot of confusion and a lot of not knowing what to do, I would just say, I always ask for more information. I'll ask the guides for confirmations. I will also ask, I will say more information is needed, because if it's really staticky and confusing, it usually means I'm being told a story. Like there's a narrative there. Like real information, generally real guidance is very peaceful. It's very quiet. There's also not a lot of words, you guys. Your spirit guides do not speak to us, any of us, in essays. They speak in a few words, and there's usually peace around it. They don't hit us with strong emotions. We as human beings, we're the ones that say, oh, I saw a car accident, the thing's on fire, I'm really sorry for that person, they're gonna have to buy a new car, right? Our emotions take over, but the guides will say something like, there's gonna be a car accident up ahead, you're gonna need to change lanes, you're gonna need to know what road you're near, so when you call 911 you can tell them where to go. And that does not come with a lot of emotion. It's going to come peaceful. It's going to come calmly. So in her case, if she's getting a lot of static, I would say she needs to take a little bit more time because she's not getting the whole picture.
Yeah, my guides came, and I call them the voices. When the voices show up, you listen. It's like a Greek chorus.
Yeah.
And they said, you're going home, when I was driving home one night from the wine bar. And I said, yeah, I know I'm going home. And I said, what's the grid on my windshield? I couldn't see out my windscreen. I was going 70 miles an hour. I said, can we fix this, guys? They said, it's okay. We've driven you home lots of times, which was in my drinking days true. That was a true statement. But they said, you're going home? And I said, well, yeah, I know I'm going home. And they said, no, but you're going to close the door behind you, and you can't leave till we tell you. That was in early February of 2020.
Ooh.
And I said, well, what am I? And they said, call the two places you read. They'll understand, cancel the readings. And I said, well, when am I coming out? And they said, it could be a while, but we can't tell you. That's not ours, you know. So, and I said, well, why? And they said, because what's in the air will kill you. Well, at the time I had adult asthma. And if I had gotten COVID in the early stages, I would have been gone. So
wow.
I left the world more than a month before everybody, about 6 weeks before everybody else did, called the places, told them I wasn't coming in. And one place was very gracious and said, the table's here at the wine bar whenever you want it. Take the time, take whatever time you need off. The other woman just went nuts because hers was a face-to-face business. Not that the wine bar wasn't, but she said, oh my God, is it that disease? They're saying some woman died of it in California. And I said, I don't know. I'm just doing what I'm told. And I didn't walk into either of those two places for over a year.
Yeah, interestingly enough, though, I love what you said in this, because your guides, and this is true for you guys watching too, her guides didn't want to scare her. So they're not going to say, oh yeah, it's going to be like 3 years. And forget going to a movie. In fact, your next movie is going to be Top Gun. It's going to be in 4 years. Like they don't want to scare you. But so they just said a while. And in our minds, we went, well, a while, that could be like 3 days. It could be like 3 months. You never thought like 3 years.
And I was lucky I shared a house with my kids. So I had them. They left the house with me and they became militant when I got sent home. And as I was put on house arrest by my guides. They would take their shoes off at the door. We had hand sanitizer at the door. We had a blue light that sterilized their keys. I mean, they said, nope, we're not going to risk mom.
I should probably get some of those blue lights. Those are
But
nice.
how do you tell the difference of psychic impression and your imagination? It's a different quality. It's like claircognizance, don't you think? When you know, you know.
Yeah, and I would say too, ask for confirmations, like, because the truth is, and even with us, the truth is you can convince yourselves of things that are just not true. I mean, that's just human nature. We can convince ourselves things that's not true. That's why I ask for confirmations. Most of the stuff though, it's inconsequential, right? In your case, it was consequential. You had to go home. You needed to make sure you had all the supplies. Because you got it a month early, you probably got groceries from the store, maybe a little toilet paper. You know, all of this stuff was really helpful. I had a similar experience, but so my husband's best friend from work went to China in December and came back with a present for all of us. So I know, and so my business had been nearly closed for 2 months. I just been doing everything on Zoom and coughing and hacking, and I don't know for sure that I got it. Yeah, I probably had it, but whatever. So I hadn't even gone back. And then when they finally, it probably was well enough to go back to work in February, that's when it really started to hit. And I was like, you know what, I'm just going to have to give notice on my office and call it, because I just had a feeling that it was going to be a while. But yeah, we got these weird hits and we just listened to it. And you guys, if you're getting weird hits about stuff too in your life, yeah, pay attention to it. I mean, even if it makes no logical sense. I mean, I was seeing things like people washing Doritos bags and going, okay, what the hell, guys? What is that? What is that? Makes no sense, right?
No, I don't
like, don't eat Doritos.
I was doing keto, so I made all my own food
so
and
smart.
everything. Lost. I went from 330 to 200.
Jealous. Jealous, Nancy.
No, you're not jealous. You got to 330.
What'd you say?
I said you didn't get jealous about getting to 330.
No, not really. Not really. No.
But anyway, are there moments when you've doubted yourself?
Absolutely. Like, absolutely, you guys, all the time. I mean, we all doubt ourselves. It's the, the imposter thing. I'm like, am I just making this up? Yes. Sometimes you are. There's no question. But you just kind of, again, ask for confirmations. You also, especially when in readings, particularly if I'm giving advice that makes me really nervous about giving, like somebody's asking about stock investments, and I'm always like, please go see a professional. This isn't, I'm seeing this kind of trend happening, but talk to somebody who really knows how this game works in a different way. But yeah, everybody doubts it. No way. I mean, absolutely. Yes. So yes, I do doubt it sometimes. Yes, everybody does.
How do you handle skepticism from yourself and others?
I acknowledge people's skepticism. So if somebody says, I don't feel like you're right. Well, maybe I'm not right for you. Maybe what I just said, particularly with my YouTube channel, you guys seeing it, I'm just giving events or predictions that I see for the collective, but it may not be true for you. Or especially if I'm talking about the housing market, I see the housing market going down. Yeah, that may not be true in Buffalo, New York, but it might be true in, Fayetteville, Arkansas. I just kind of say, well, you should be skeptical. You should use your own intuition. You shouldn't listen to me. I think that healthy skepticism is wise. I don't require my guests to believe that I have all the answers. I really wish they wouldn't think that, because I don't. You always know. You, as a person watching this, always are going to know more than me. I'm just telling you what they're saying. And most of the time, it's what you've already been told anyway. You just didn't hear it.
Right.
Or you just didn't listen. I've done that too, guys. No judgment. 3 fingers back at myself on that one.
Well, have you gone through weak and strong periods?
Yeah, you know what? That's a great question, because I didn't realize that I was really allergic to wheat.
Okay.
Until we went through like a pizza phase during COVID, and I'm like, I can't read shit. I mean, my brain was so foggy and so fuzzy. And then I asked a friend, and they're like, oh yeah, you got that wheat problem. And so I stopped eating it, and all of a sudden, brain's sharp as a tack, everything's working again. I'm like, well, I guess I don't even need the test. That was the test. The answer is yes, you can't have wheat.
Yeah, we did that. I went on paleo, and my daughter, not inclined to want to cook for herself, followed along behind me, and all of a sudden she felt so much better. She had less joint pain. She had everything just sort of changed.
And her brain was working.
Her brain, yeah.
Weird, huh?
Yeah.
I'm not a doctor, so you guys don't consider that medical advice. But I'm just saying, experiment for yourself. If you're
And there's
suspecting it,
and if you have a good doctor, they can do a blood test for
Yeah,
it. So
I
they'll let
didn't.
them test you.
I don't
That's
want.
what
I'm
she
cheap.
eventually did. I finally said, "You're going to go get someone to confirm that, so that you're not sitting here snotty nose, not eating bread." And she now can eat limited amounts of it. But if she were like go on a pizza fest, yeah, she'd be in trouble, unless the pizza was the right crust.
I have not found a crust that works for me. But go ahead.
How do you protect your energy?
I have all kinds of tools. I mean, we all do. You guys don't see the desk cluttered with like incense that I put on afterward.
Mhm.
The other thing I do is I blow out my aura. So before a reading, I just sort of tune into my aura and I just make sure it's bigger. It's a little bit bigger. I know some people, and this works for some people, it doesn't work for me. Some people like to put like a barrier. I don't like that. I'd rather just have the person's attack go through my energy and just not attach because it doesn't align.
Mhm.
Like if I agree with them, then it'll attach. But if I
Mhm.
disagree, like if somebody says, you're fat, I don't think I'm fat. So, fuck you. And the energy just goes right past me.
Mhm.
But like, but if you do agree, like if they say, you don't know what you're talking about. Oh, maybe I don't. I realize that, okay, I have to sit with my confidence a little bit stronger. Otherwise, that kind of thing will attach because there's a resonance there. If we both agree, it'll be there. But yeah, that's a big part of it. I also, at the end of the day, I have my own little ritual before every session. And at the end of the day, I always do a nice little salt bath. And I just sort of imagine the guides like, take their energy back. Yeah, just take your energy back. It was fun. I appreciate you lending it to me for a little bit. I got to see what's going on with Tim and Bob and Jane, and and I'm done with them. Thank you very much. And I'll see him again next time they book.
That's right. Very good. Well, my guides finally put a cage around me shortly after COVID. I was having arrhythmias during my ascension symptoms, and it's because the energy that was taking me off the planet was taking me off, not allowing for the fact that I was as old as I was. And so eventually I was working with an Akashic Records person, and he said, this is going to happen when they monitor your heart. They're going to find nothing wrong. It's because there's nothing wrong with it. But he said, you need to be protected. So they put a cage around me. I mean, they literally, I didn't ask for it, and I don't have to clean it or clean the windows or anything.
Love it. Yep.
They put it around me, and I watched an eclipse 2 years ago. There was one that went right over us about this time of year. It went right over us, and full solar eclipse where I live. And I watched it, and I was so excited, and I started feeling draggy after the eclipse. And I said, I wonder if I got something from the eclipse. Anyway, I had 2 different people who do energy work who called me and said, I don't understand this, but it's like you're standing in a bird cage and the right corner's got a crack in it.
Love it.
And so I talked to my Akashic Records guy, and he goes, yeah, something broke in, and energy that came down from the eclipse is trying to creep into your being. That took care of that.
Interesting. See, each one of us have our own little things. I have some bracelets that I like.
Mm-hmm.
I have some little everybody's got their thing, but honestly, even it doesn't matter if your tool is as good as mine or better than mine or whatever. You get the one that makes you feel like you're safe and protected, and I love that. I love that for you.
I want people to understand that you are responsible for your own protection. When I teach a class, the first thing I teach is a very simple prayer to clean the area out around you and to clean that up. And then I teach them about mists like sage and dragon's blood. You can just put in a mist bottle, and if they really bug you, go get them.
Yep, there you go. You can always ask the angels too. Like, I'm done with this guy. This guy's bugging me.
Right.
Make him go away.
You can ask for help from wherever you can get it.
Absolutely. And they will. They absolutely will. They're on standby, you guys. Your guides, your angels, they're on standby. Please ask us for intervention. We'll do it.
But the other problem is people have to ask them. A lot of people think, I don't need to ask them.
I know.
And
yeah, you got to ask. Yeah. They want to help.
Do you think psychic abilities are innate, or can anyone develop them?
Yes. Now, can everyone be really, really good at it? it did, this is true for, I'm sure this is true for you and it's true for me. We put work into it because we wanted to. It was our part of our calling. Not everybody wants to put the work into it, but everybody has some.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to develop it because it's part of your life path, then you should absolutely do it. But you all have some. You guys all have it. You know stuff. This show wouldn't be interesting to you if you weren't at least a little bit psychic. But yes, I absolutely believe everyone can do some of it. And it may not look like the way Nancy or I do it, you guys, but just know that you've already got that ability. You can develop it if you want to, or if you don't, you just book appointments with people like myself and Nancy, who have done the work, who have put the time in to learn how to do it well. Either way, but yeah, absolutely have it. Absolutely.
And how has this work changed your worldwide view or beliefs in life after death?
I think I don't know that it's changed my beliefs in life after death. I think I've always thought I've always believed in reincarnation ever since I was a kid. It just didn't even make any logical sense to think that it was just one time. Like, really? Like, I developed all of this in one lifetime? Come on, no. But I can't say that it's changed my perspective on life after death. I will say that having worked with a lot of mediums and having a lot of mediums as guests on my show too, who kind of I am a bit of a medium, but not in the way like the professionals, like they put in the work. I haven't put in the work for that. But I have discovered that a lot of people, when they've left those bodies, they just want you to know that they love you. They just want you to know that they're sorry for the stupid things they did. They were doing the best they could. If they wish they could have done better, they're always around you. They're always sending you love. They're not judging you. Your guides are never mad at you. But I guess my perspective on when people don't have a body, and maybe I'm a little less afraid of it. Like, I don't know. It doesn't seem quite as weird as it did when I was a kid.
As long as they don't turn the lights on and off and change people's faces. There's a difference between being a medium and dealing with earthbound spirits.
That is very different. It's true.
Earthbound spirits are ghosts. And the first thing I ran into like that was when I was 17. I ended up in a haunted hotel room in London. It's a long story.
I lived in a haunted house when I was a kid too, and I can tell you too, the first time I saw it, I thought there was a person in our house. But I see people's, dead grannies, and the energy is very different. Like, this lady was attached to her stuff. I was sleeping next to her dresser, and she wanted me to know that. Yeah, that was weird.
Well, I used to redo houses. I was one company I ran for 20 years. We did high-end faux finishes and designer wallpaper and stuff. And some of them were old houses. And every once in a while I'd run into something in the house and I'd have to kind of talk to the owner to find out if they knew. And they sort of all knew, but they all kind of like, well, we thought if we ignored it, it would just go away. And like energy in the universe, it does not like being ignored. So that was kind of an interesting period of time. But I'd walk through every house we worked. And
I will tell you, having experienced what you're describing, and having lived in a haunted house, I will not buy a haunted house. If I have a sense of a body, a person without a body, you would think, oh, well, because she knows what it is, she's not gonna be scared of it. I don't want to be bothered. I am in my home. Leave me alone. I have office hours. I know spirit guides are going to respect that. I'm not sure about a ghost. So yeah, I wouldn't buy a haunted house.
No, I wouldn't buy a haunted house. Every place I ever read though, the wine bar had a ghost. The vintage store had a ghost. I read in this old spooky house on Sundays only for a period of time when I was getting back into reading. And that ghost, we were fixing the room they were having me read in. We were painting it. And the old lady who haunted the house, there were 3 people. There was a kid, an animal that was either a small cat or dog, and a grandmother in the house. And the old lady tried to knock me off the ladder when I was painting the room. And I issued her out of the room and she had to leave. And they're all puttering around crystals and cards and all kinds of new age thinking. And they're going, and I talked to the woman and she goes, oh, did you see her? She said, I had a clerk that the woman walked up and looked at her across the counter. And the woman that was the new hire looked and saw that it wasn't just a woman there, but she could see through her. that was the end of her day of work. That's the end of her day working there. But, I always warned at the vintage store, I said, tell him about, we had a Civil War soldier that watched over us. And he was kind and he was beneficent and he never bugged anybody. But I wasn't going to take him home and raise him.
Yeah, nope. Yeah, let him stay at the store. Yep, I 100% agree with you on that one.
What is one of the more powerful readings you've ever done?
Oof. An interesting question. I can't think off the top of my head. I can't think of anything. I will tell you about one that one of my mentors told me, and there's a reason I'm telling you this, you guys, this story. But she was trying to give an example of like how if you sometimes just get symbols. And she was telling me that she was reading for somebody. She was having trouble tuning into this lady, but the lady would walk up to her and lift up her skirt and show her vajayjay. And she's like, this makes no sense, but I'm just going to tell the client that. And the client just started laughing because it turns out her grandma was a midwife, and that was how she knew who it was. So, and my mentor was like, I didn't have that word in my head. There's no way she could have.
That's not the first impression I would have from that image. No.
Okay. Well, she's like, I don't know. This makes no sense. This is what I'm seeing. I would just say that when they will give you weird symbols. And I would also say for the really young people listening, 16, 18 who are listening, sometimes you do have a little bit more life experience is helpful, because I can think about all of the things that I've done in my career in my various forms and how the bits of information that I got from that helped me understand a little bit about what they were talking about. So when somebody from the other side was trying to show me that they were a stock portfolio manager, they were showing me a Lamborghini, they were showing me a ticker tape, and I'm like, I think they're a stock portfolio manager. All of these different experiences will help lend to that. But off the top of my head, I can't think of one.
That's okay. I understand. And
it's so many.
Convey, because often something that means nothing to you or me as a reader,
means something to them.
Everything to the person who's being read.
Totally.
How do you deliver sensitive and complex messages? And we kind of hit on that early. But if you get something and you realize, wow, I really don't want to have to say this.
Yeah, particularly if like I see spots in their aura that tell me, it's time to go see a doctor. It's a delicate balance, because you don't want to scare them. Or if somebody is asking, they're saying they've got a lump and should they go have it investigated, and you're like, I have to be careful how I word this, because I want to make sure they actually do go investigate it, but I don't want them to leave crying, scared. So it is a little bit of, I'm getting that it's time to go see, get your annual physical. I'm getting that it's time to investigate this. I don't feel like you're going to leave the planet from it, but I do feel like you need to really put some energy into this, and you try and see what happens after. So for example, that's a good example. Let's say it's the big C. Guides aren't necessarily going to tell me they're going to be going through chemo. They will tell it to me this way. They'll say, there's going to be a rough patch. You're going to healed. On the other side, there's a book. On the other side, there's a new career. On the other side, there's these amazing things that are going to happen as a result of this that you never anticipated. And because that is always the case, you guys. These tough, like dark night of the soul things always emerge into this beautiful new life, new career, new things, new amazing directions and insights that you never anticipated. So I always try to focus on kind of like, do this, but then there's something else after. So the other question is he cheating? I would encourage you to talk to a counselor. I would encourage you to, if you need to, talk to a lawyer and find out what your rights are in your particular state, what you need to know. If intuitively I can see that this guy that they're dealing with is a piece of shit and that he's going to try and hide assets, I absolutely tell him to get some cash out of the ATM machine and go see a lawyer, because the lawyer will have a list of the things that they need to get before the person locks them out of all the accounts.
Right.
So,
and they can also tell you how you have that trail left, how to leave that trail open.
Exactly. So it's like sometimes you need a rings off, gloves on type of lawyer for certain situations. And you got to find one of those, somebody who's used to dealing with bastards. I mean, that's the only way to describe it. But I do try and look at, like what happens after the not so pleasant thing.
Yeah, there's two things when people tell me, oh, I want a 12-month reading because, and there's two things they said, I'm in the middle of settling a will. That's never going to
Oh, wow. That's a tough one. That's a really tough one.
If there's going to be a wedding, weddings are tough. weddings are like God's plan to teach you all your shadow work. You know?
I just have one word for that. I just have one word. Vegas, baby, Vegas.
Baby. Get the hell out. Put the ladder next.
Vegas.
If the kid's on the second floor, put the ladder next to the house and show them how to climb down it.
Yeah, it's cheap.
Do you have any daily habits or exercises you recommend?
Oh, that's great. I do channeling every morning. I have a meditation routine that I do every morning. I personally do yoga just about every day.
Okay.
I feel that exercising the physical body is a huge part of what helps me. It just helps to burn off the excess energy. I do put more than most people. I put energy into how I eat.
Mhm.
I know it, I am carrying some extra lbs, so it doesn't look like it, but I am very cognizant of what I put in my body. And particularly with, medications and things like that,
Mhm.
because I know I've seen firsthand how it affects the ability to give a good reading.
Mhm.
Yeah, I personally, everybody's got their own thing, but I personally like my space to be clean. So I do spend a more than average amount of time cleaning the dishes, cleaning the house, cleaning things that just
Mhm.
make me feel a little bit more in control, if that makes sense.
Right. Well, no, that is a good plan. I'm not that good at that. I share my house with 2 other grown adults.
Yeah, I
And
don't.
we all run into each other's bad days. Um, okay, this is a good question for you. How do you find someone in the psychic community that's trustworthy?
Ooh. It's weird because you and I probably in the trying to get guests on the show have run across a few that you're like, oh my God, this person's a charlatan. There's a vibe with it. Okay, so I will tell you one of the rules that came up at the bookstore that I worked at. There's a couple of things that I never want to see, and I remember this because we actually fired a reader who was doing this.
Mm-hmm.
The store I worked at. If the person says you've got an attachment, you have to come every 3 times a week for the next however many months to clear the attachment. Run.
Mm-hmm.
If they say, I'm the only one that has all the answers, everyone else is faking it, run. If they're super, super expensive. Now people can charge what they want to charge. I get that. But sometimes my experience has been some of the more premium priced readers are not necessarily better.
Mm-hmm.
You also do want to look for someone that you have something in common with. I would say that there's some resonance there. So if you're interested in a reader who focuses on the economy, you want to look at somebody who's got maybe a personal passion in that. And people will say that, especially if you have a YouTube channel, you can see they're talking about the economy stuff, then book them. But in terms of being a charlatan, I don't know. The vibe is different, but I always look for, attachments, talking about the devil a lot. That to me just seems creepy, and it's not how I see spirit. Anybody who says I have to come all the time, that they're the only one for me, anything that feels, I can't describe it another way, cultish. Yeah. They've got a little bit of a culty vibe to it. I know everything. I'm the only one. I don't know everything. I am not the only one. There's a lot of us that are, I'm good, but I'm not a guru.
We don't all speak the same language.
We don't all speak, and there's 3, this happened a lot when I worked at the bookstore. People will go to 3 different readers because there might be 3 on duty that day in the book in a session, and we'll ask the same questions. And a lot of times we'll say the same things, but we just say it differently. You have to kind of figure out who
can I hear?
Who can I hear? Who speaks the language in the same way that I do?
That's right.
That's a great question, though.
And then this is the last question, kiddo. You're off.
Last question. I've already done 19.
Yes. What's the biggest lesson you've learned in your psychic journey?
Oh my God. Not to judge people for things that I don't understand. In especially in my hypnotherapy practice, because I do intuitive hypnotherapy. So I'm always tuning in, but I would get people in front of me that were cheating. They had a wife and 3 girlfriends. And it is not my job to judge. I don't get paid enough for that. I would get people who are, very conservative, some of them racist. Again, not my job. But what the lesson for me has always been, every time I have a conversation with somebody who thinks really different than myself, I learn something about the way they think. And sometimes I agree with some little aspect of it. I'm not saying I agree with the pointy hat stuff, the white pointy hat stuff. You know what I'm talking about. But I always learn something kind of valuable from the people. And biggest lesson for me is try not to get too polarized either. I try not to sit too hard on either extreme. I have a strong opinion, no question, but if I'm giving my opinion and airing it in a session, the session becomes about me. And when I'm working with the client, I'm meeting them where they are.
Well, this is not a question that's on the form, but if someone was to come to Jill Thomas, what would be the reasons for being there, or what do you do? What kind of readings do you do? I know you do hypnotherapy. You do a lot of different healing modalities that I don't even go near. So please fill us in, because
yeah, a lot of people, I'm just like thinking of the last 5 or 6 readings. People are asking a lot about the economy right now. I have a passion for macroeconomics myself as my like passion, personal passion. So I know a lot about that. I know a lot about Warsh, who's the new Fed chair. People are asking a lot about the economy. So if that's, a lot of people are asking about those things. They want to know about interpersonal relationship things. I'm really good with that. I'm really good with, jobs. A lot of times when people are asking me about their jobs, I'm hearing their guides saying, hey, they need to start that business, So if you're asking about that, just know that that's probably already there. Hypnotherapy, as far as that goes, I always say I'm in the habits and human nature business. So if you, for example, are knowing that you've got a habit that's tripping you up, like every time you start to get, achieve a certain level of financial success, you fuck it up somehow. Like there's usually some aspect of that can be healed with hypnotherapy. But I'm trying to think of what I'm not great with. I don't do mediumship. Booker, probably you're good at that stuff. I'm not as good with the medium. Like,
no. Ghost in London. I went in when I was 17. I went into the Psychic Institute in Chicago, and I said, I know I've been able to see all these things and do stuff since I was a kid, but I don't want to do that. And that's the place that sat me down and says, you don't have to accept from the universe anything.
I love it.
You have control. And so I blanked out. Now I can do remote viewing, and I didn't even know it had a name. I used to be able to sit at 16 and walk through someone's house and tell them about pictures on their walls and stuff. I found out that's when you're in a college dorm, it's a very fast way to make yourself very unpopular.
Oh my God, that's great.
They freak you out. And but when I've done mediumship, it's because the person that they wanted to talk to showed up, talked to my guide. And what they do is they talk to Addie. Addie touches me in the shoulder and says, she's here. And I said, who's here? He said, her mother's here. It was a young woman. It was one of the most powerful readings I've ever done.
Wow.
And at the end of the reading, she'd flown from California to Dallas, didn't know anyone here, wanted to see Dallas. She was in her 30s, wanted to see Dallas, was booked at this incredible B&B on the edge of downtown, and was supposed to stay for 4 more days. Came to where I was because it's one of the best vintage shops in the country, and sat down with me, and she said, well, I haven't had a reading since I had little friends playing with their cards, because my mother was a tarot reader. And then she had told me kind of sorrowfully that her mother died when she was very young. And she said, my dad used to call my mom his little psychic, and he really loved her. But she said, I've just always had mixed feelings about it. So she was asking about a career question. And all of a sudden, Addie said, her mother's here. And I said, well, maybe she doesn't want to talk to her mother. You know what I mean? So I said, I'm not going to explain this to you because I don't do this often, but your mom's here. And would you like to talk to her? And she said, yes, if she's come and found me here, yes. And so I was the in-between between the girl, and it ends up, the mother said, she said, I left you when you were that small. Her mother died of cancer. Her mother had her late in life and then died of cancer. She said, I left because if I had stayed, I would have ruined you. I was so used to having everything my own way, and I saw what a wonderful life you were, and I wanted you to grow without the negative influences, and you were great with your father. And I told the girl that, and she broke into tears, and she said, my aunt tried to tell me that if my mother had stayed, she would have ruined me. She said, I could never understand that. And I said, well, Mom said that was her nature, and that she's loving but she's with you all the time. Just
Aw.
talk to her. And so she left, and she left me a note the next day and said, I'm on my way to the airport. I came to Dallas for what I needed.
Aw, Steve, I love that story, Nancy. That's a good story.
You know, we're all kind of accidental mediums when it comes to that.
Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes if Granny's there and she's screaming at me, I can hear her, but not all the time.
But it's not what I seek to do. And that, I think, when you're looking for a reader, you need to ask them, what do you do? And if they have a website, they'll tell you what they do.
Yeah. It's not a secret.
And
I mean,
you have a website, JillKThomas.com.
Yeah, I have a website. I also have a YouTube channel. I have a YouTube channel called A Little Bit of Woo Woo. I interview guests. I do predictions myself. It's a lot of really fun topics that we talk about. And yeah, you can get to see what I'm about and what other people like Nancy are about on my show. Yeah, it's fun. It's a lot of fun. We have fun.
And I'm in the process of starting my 6-month readings to the end of the year. I'm doing other things. I'm thinking about starting a book club.
I love that idea.
But anyway, you were wonderful. I'm so glad I met you. I'm so glad you finally, Jill, I sent her an invitation a long time ago. And in the mix of my mental deviations, her email got lost. And so I really appreciate you
all of us,
to not hold it against me and come back.
That's all right.
See. Everybody loves hearing and sharing and what we're going on about. So with that, we will say goodbye. Do you have any closing comments, Jill?
I just want you guys to all know you're loved. You are so loved. The other side is there for you. They love you so much, even when you're going through stuff, even when you're doing stuff you wish you didn't. If you're eating those Oreos, it's okay. Your guys still love you. It's all right. Everybody loves you guys. You're so supported. Please know that. No matter what's going on, it's going to be okay.
Well, have a good day, everyone, and really appreciate Jill for coming by. Bye-bye.